we didn't have enough complexity throughout today. We've got a 3-stage final session. We're going to do it in sort of 3 parts. So this is the final session of the Future of You day, to try and draw some conclusions from Leslie in particular, who we've made very good use of today. Thank you very much, Leslie, with our esteemed panel. So we're going to do this in 3 parts. So to kick off, we've got Mr. Prashant Jawar, very well known to some of us in a couple of guises throughout his life, who has kindly sponsored today this session to launch a new company. So 2 minutes from Prashant. We're then going to move into a 2-minute cut, which hopefully will work, of highlights, video highlights of today, which I hope will include generous portions of each of my panel members, because we really have made good use of them. I will then hand over to Leslie for about a 15-20 minute discussion with the panel on what they've picked up throughout today, as they've been on various panels, having lunch, networking with people in the hackathon zone, on TV, a lot of stuff that's been happening. And then we're going to move into the hackers. So you'll know that Fintech rocket ships was launched today. That is an iteration of tech rocket ships, which this year's competition launched last night. So those hackers, when we finally got them Wi-Fi, have been spending a lot of deep time coding a financial inclusion problem. So we'll have a jury deciding on the winners of that prize. And then finally, Dominic will come on the stage and give us his reflections on today. And then I hope that there will be a bar which is rapidly emerging just behind us, which opens at 5:15. So end up the day, and please do enjoy some downtime with us, particularly to the wonderful team who've got today together. So without further ado, just over to Mr. Jawar. Very kind of you to sponsor this session and to launch Usha Martin Tech Corporate Services. So over to you.
Thank you, Amo. First of all, my sincere thanks to Sir Dominic, to Mr. Amo Kalar and their wonderful team for giving us this opportunity to launch UMT Corporate Services. Very quick summary. I relocated to the UK in the year 2000, in May 2000, with my family to grow my digital business and to grow our manufacturing businesses based in the UK. We've had some success over the years, and today we launch UMT Corporate Services, which is really sharing our experience with tech enterprises, with early stage companies, and with any enterprise which wants to do business in the UK and use the UK as a launch pad for the rest of the world. I have my partners and my colleagues here. Very quickly, if you can just stand up, Mr. Jay Ved from London, Mr. Ravi Goenka, and Mr. K.S. Nair. They're all here. Thank you. What are the services that we offer? I think if we come to that, it is setting up businesses in the UK. So setting up companies, managing accounts, reporting, payroll management. We also offer desk space in 2 offices in London for companies to get their feet wet. And then references. What are the additional services that we offer which really add a lot of value? Immigration, visa and permits, support with that. Assistance in opening UK bank accounts. That is one of the things which takes a lot of time these days. Support on financing, including bridge financing, and introduction to networks. The UK has been very kind to me. I've learned a lot and I've benefited a lot from being in the UK, and I would really encourage entrepreneurs who have developed solutions in India to use the UK as a launch pad. There's a lot of support with the regulatory agencies who welcome innovation. There's a lot of support from corporates of different sizes who also are embracing technology. And who are embracing change. So introduction to networks is also about building trust, building confidence, and gaining access to markets. Fundamentally, the solution, the services that you bring has to be of high quality, and that is what will allow you to establish yourselves in the UK very successfully and build wonderful business, create value, create wealth for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prashant. Well done. Now I'm going to try and neatly segue into a... There we go.
National companies to small tech startups to government leaders to civil society. This is just a fantastic opportunity.
Hi, I'm Priya Guha, the Ecosystem General Manager for Rocket Space in the UK. It's fantastic to be here at the India UK Futuretech Festival. It's a great opportunity to see the best of UK tech, the best of Indian tech, and the importance this sector will hold for the future of the relationship.
Hi everyone, I'm Lyric from Logically. So we kind of specialise in using human and artificial intelligence to detect misinformation, disinformation and content likely to incite violence. So obviously very topical and very relevant to India at this moment in time.
We have an extraordinarily strong tech ecosystem in the UK, building on a depth of talent and expertise which is world class. And we want that ecosystem to be globally facing, and we want to build as part of that the strongest possible partnership with India.
So the world is changing. That requires new collaborations, and technology will be at the heart of those new collaborations. That's why our two Prime Ministers in April announced the Tech Partnership. And we're taking that forward at great speed. We've already established those connections between those clusters of technology in the UK and counterparts here in AI and healthcare, and just starting now on a new area of advanced manufacturing. This is a really dynamic collection of people today at the Futuretech Fest, the latest in our installment of taking forward the Tech Partnership. We have brought together hundreds of scientists, innovators, businessmen, businesswomen and policy experts to talk about the thought leadership that required to maximize the potential in technology and collaboration between the UK and India.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And over to Leslie De Monte for a session.
Thank you, Emma. A picture, they say, says 1,000 words. A video probably 10,000, 100,000, a gazillion words. We have to resort to something that's just a panel discussion, so you'll have to bear with us and that count at least. So the whole idea of today at this panel discussion as such is to connect the dots, and how best to connect the dots and to get the best people out there in this industry to have a tete-a-tete and tell us what were the kind of experiences that they gained throughout the day. So you all have already seen that video, some glimpses of it. Each one of us would be highlighting as to what we experienced throughout the day. Before we start that, how many people here are kind of excited or super excited with this entire festival? Could you just show a show of hands? Okay, that's a very
I'm pretty tired, but yeah.
That's a very encouraging response. So on that good note, I think the overarching theme, as most of us would agree today, is digital disruption, digital transformation as we see it. Many of us probably are like those 6 blind men in a room with an elephant, some of us pretty knowledgeable about certain subjects, some of us pretty knowledgeable about certain subjects, but we are all trying to figure out how does AI, the confluence of technologies, for instance, the convergence of the technologies, how does AI tie up with IoT, how does IoT tie up with blockchain, how does immersive reality work with other technologies. In fact, one of the demonstrations during the convergence of technologies session was something about complete digitization, where they had a live mixed reality and immersive kind of portal where people could get onto that web link, and we had some live blogging also done out there, and people would share their opinions in real time. So that's something where you show that, okay, immersive reality is can be done in real time, and that was a very good experience. That was one part of it. I think there was a lot of talk in some of the sessions on the impact of AI, automation, robotics on jobs. What would be the kind of impact? Is it going to be scary? Is it going to provide more opportunities? How much reskilling is going to be required? What more can we do? So without much ado, I will just briefly introduce you to the panelists. To the extreme left, I have Matthew Gold. He's the UK Director General for Digital and Media Policy in the Department for Digital Culture Media. Andrew Conan. So Andrew Cowan is the chair of the MIP and chief executive of Manchester Airport. Jonathan Quinn is the founder of Quinnovation. Elizabeth Diaferia is the advisory board member at HTP. Then I have Prashant Jawar, who just spoke. He's the chairman of the Usha Martin Group. And Ron Mobed, who's the CEO of the Elsevier Relics Group. So let's start with you, Ron. Which are the sessions that you found interesting, and what are the kind of take-home messages that you would have?
Sure, thank you. So it's an astonishing feat to be able to pack so much into one day. We started off, from my perspective, with an absolutely astoundingly powerful description of the scale of the ambition in India around the use of technology for social and economic progress. And then we moved from there very quickly into a whole series of very detailed discussions about how practically to make this work. All the way from what regulatory framework do you need in order to create the conditions for AI to flourish without damaging personal data protections, etc. We went to healthcare to see how you can deliver better quality healthcare at lower price to the vast populations that are currently underserved in India. We talked about how big corporates and startups together can deliver on the promise of what these technologies can unlock both in India and in the UK. And my final takeaway really is a personal reflection, which is that most of us are quite easily seduced into thinking we know everything already. And a day like today just opens our eyes to see just how much is out there that we hadn't thought about. And my takeaways are that there are all sorts of areas, all sorts of insights, all sorts of talented people that we can learn from and collaborate together with to make the UK and India a partnership in technology that really, really works.
Thank you, Ron. I think the last part was a very strong message that we shouldn't be seduced into thinking that we know everything. So that's a very humbling note. Matthew, your experience. And Matthew, please. Oh, sorry, Andrew. My apologies.
I'm quite happy to swap with Matthew if you'd like. I think the key takeaway for me, the session that I attended, was on collaborations, ecosystems and investments. And I think one of the things that I take away from it is the key role that connectivity plays in everything that we're trying to do here, and enabling businesses and startups to actually trade across global networks is absolutely crucial. And I think the access to India and the direct routes that we've got from the UK and vice versa, I think is absolutely key in driving those opportunities. I think the second bit for me is probably, it's incredible to see the amount of activity that is already underway. My role as chair in the Manchester-India Partnership is to try and stimulate and facilitate trade links. And there's a fantastic example. We've launched something in Manchester called GEEK, which is the Graphene Engineering Innovation Centre, and that's targeting big Indian innovators. And we've been on from Manchester, there's been a delegation out looking to businesses over here to try and work together around that. So, that living bridge that we keep talking about is absolutely critical, that we've got the right networks in place and the right connectivity in place. And I think looking to the future, I think, as we've already heard, this is just the start. There's a lot more to do. We've got a session tomorrow in Mumbai, and the theme of that is all about connectivity. And I'm hoping that many people here are going to be coming to that event. So for me, it's all about making sure we continue with that connectivity. It's about joining the dots up. It's about making those introductions. It's about facilitating that trade. And it's about making sure that those opportunities for people to join together and work in collaborative networks are exploited.
Thank you, Andrew. Jonathan?
Yeah, so the first thing I'd probably say is the word opportunity. So I've been able to showcase all of my 5 businesses and my 5 technologies in front of a massive amount of audience and different people at different events over the last 3 days, and finalising that today. So the word opportunity, I actually started my working life as a welder for an engineering business, and then progressed through that. So to be asked by the DIT and Sir Donald Gasquith to come over and speak and go to the residency, that's an absolutely massive opportunity from someone from my background. So I'd like to say thank you very much for that. And then the second thing would be, so I actually invent technologies, and then we have to collaborate with people. And I actually see what I'm trying to do in the UK with my businesses and the synergy with India on the high growth. So I make things like giant concrete Lego blocks for construction businesses and waste businesses. So the infrastructure in India is going to grow rapidly. It has to grow rapidly. We do things like a range extender for electric vehicles. We've got a cleaner for the coffee and beauty industry. So in the UK, I have a very small sort of sales pitch to do because there's only a certain amount of people. But in India, my market is now 1.3 billion. So it's getting across and collaborating with businesses that can help me roll that out. So again, I'd like to say thank you very much for the team at Futuretech Festival.
Yeah, Jonathan, but there were any specific sessions that you could draw some lessons from throughout the day?
Yeah, so there was a session earlier on digital, and it's quite fascinating the amount of, there's 1.3 billion SIM cards in use in India, and the scale of going from having a normal mobile phone to having a smartphone, the leap's absolutely incredible. So things like we actually recycle printed circuit boards as well for mobile phones. So seeing that market and seeing that expansion where we can try and lead into is it's quite shocking actually.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
Sure. For me today, it was very interesting seeing the health sector. I found that Sir Malcolm Grant was speaking about that 85% of cancer patients aren't diagnosed until they're at stage 3 and 4, and that's just not acceptable in this day and age. And I think it's really key that we look at opportunities and ways from AI and from technology of how we can advance that quicker. In the UK, I'm really delighted to see that actually Matt Hancock has stopped the use of fax machines, that we've waited for a long time to make sure that actually technology has moved forward, and we're doing some amazing work. And I think that if we can bring that together in various ways, that what we've seen, there's certainly we've put 300 million into the quantum computing and to the Turing Institute this year. So I think it's really key that we can put money into health and technology.
If I heard you right, it was quantum computing. 300 million.
300 million. It's gone 250 to quantum and 250 to the Turing Institute. So the AI.
Okay. We shall come to that in a bit. Okay, thank you. Prashant?
Thank you. First of all, it was really an honor for me to participate and to learn so much in one day. As Ron, you said, it's been really packed. One feels humbled at the pace of change, as being fortunate to be part of that living bridge between India and the UK. We're looking forward to really supporting many other entrepreneurs, many other early stage businesses to come to the UK and prosper there. But in terms of the key takeaways, the first...
we shall come to that in a
okay.
bit, but which were the sessions that you liked?
Yeah, so, I mean, there were many sessions, but the first session with Mr. Amitabh Kant in the morning was very motivating. He's obviously a very powerful thought leader. Two things which struck me there. First of all, he talked about the difference between India and the US and China, where a lot of data of private individuals is actually owned by state-owned enterprises or held by state-owned enterprises as repositories in India, versus the very large, well-known names in the US and similarly the well-known names in China, which are mainly private sector enterprises owning the data. So the respect for protecting private data, I think the government has taken a big onus on itself on that. And the second was obviously the use of artificial intelligence and how that can transform businesses and lives in India, and the opportunity for companies on both sides to collaborate and to really co-create for use in different markets, not only in the respective countries but even the rest of the world. So that really struck me as something which was quite powerful. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. So, I clearly, if you look at what the panelists have highlighted, we have got a bird's eye view of what has happened during the day, and surely some of you may have found some of the sessions far more interesting than what we have been speaking about, but I will come back to you folks in a bit. But before that, let's start with you, Andrew. If I were to share a couple of take-home messages, given the larger theme of future of you or future of us, as we want to put it, because I think it involves all of us. What are the couple of take-home messages that you would want to share?
I think it's the same point I made earlier, which is about collaboration and it's about connectivity. I think global connectivity unlocks economic value, it unlocks trade, it unlocks investment, it unlocks research partnerships, educational partnerships, it unlocks tourism. So, connectivity is absolutely critical to making all this happen. And I think what's also really key, and another key takeaway from me, I'm representing the Manchester-India Partnership, but I'm also representing the whole of the north of the UK. So there are people here like Jonathan, who's from Liverpool. We've got people here from Sheffield. We've got people here from Leeds. We've got people here from Newcastle. And I think it's just been, opening our eyes to the fact that there's a lot of connectivity that's going on already, and we're already seeing those people collaborating. And I think that bit of it and the connectivity that underpins it is critical. So that's the key takeaway for me.
But any specific challenge that you see in the face of all these things before achieving these kind of goals?
I don't think there's key challenges to overcome, because I think we're naturally seeing connectivity being enhanced. We've just launched a route between Manchester and Mumbai. We hope to build on that. We know through some of the research that we've done and some of the economic impact assessment work that we've done that this really unlocks significant values over the coming years. That report tells us that we can double the amount of trade and investment. We can double the amount of inward investment. We can double the 100 Indian companies that are already set up in the north of the UK. So I think it's very clear to me that connectivity is the lifeblood, but also it's that bilateral collaboration and leveraging that which is going to give us the real benefit.
Thank you. Jonathan, your company has been profiting a lot from waste, right? As you yourself put it. So what kind of messages do you have?
So it's probably a thing of like a duty of care. So we all go out and we all buy our mobile phones and laptops and devices, and then we use them for 1 year or 2 years, and then potentially keep them in a drawer, or they might go, say for instance, to waste, or sometimes to recycle. And I mentioned earlier, so the UK actually exports 95% of its waste electronics. That has a value of 4 billion on it. Now, if you convert that then into the Indian market, which also actually export things like printed circuit boards. So our technology works on site, and you can recover all your base metals and your precious metals on site. So you're actually creating jobs in India. But as Andrew said, it's all about collaboration and connectivity, whether that be through transport. And we know there are problems in India. It's not ideal. It's the likes of the transportation and the technologies, I think, in the UK that can then license that to Indian businesses so that we all grow together.
Thank you. So connectivity is the lifeblood. It's all about collaboration. Elizabeth, your take-home messages?
Okay, my take home. I think really actually what is very key is that whilst we see the advances in technology, I think we have to not forget that our social mobility and certainly our creativity isn't forgotten. I think that you certainly look at the younger generation, and certainly look at my children, and sometimes they might not communicate that well, that they're sort of like all on their smartphones, or they won't have a conversation with people. And I think that it's really key that, you know, it's one of the things here is that we've got the opportunity, Prashant and I were just talking, and we live 5 minutes from each other, but we've met in Delhi, so it's sort of like that, you know, there are opportunities that actually really exist for us to go back to sort of like normal meetings. I think what's very key is that the skill sets that keep changing. I think that it's sort of like it's not only the what you see from sort of like, you know, how people are getting into technology, but it's sort of like it's keeping up with it and changing it. And I think that's sort of like keeping people in work. People will be working for longer, and having to sort of like look at how they manage in the future.
So do you see that as a major challenge? On the one hand, you have the millennial workforce. On the other hand, you have an aging workforce.
Absolutely.
And they both have to work in the same environment to achieve the same kind of goals. How do you see that marrying of these forces?
It's really difficult sometimes. It was quite funny actually. I'm working with a fintech company, and of course most of the people are really very young, and I'm certainly older than they are. And one of the instances last week we were talking about sort of like it was Christmas lunch, and it was sort of like, so what films are you watching, and you know what films are that, and it's one of those areas that sort of like it actually doesn't change anything. So sort of like there's a lot of sort of like synergies where you can come together, that you know you're all connected together, and it doesn't really matter. But I think that really what's quite key is that what we're looking at is how work is changing, and sort of like certainly, you know, people are going for interviews now for work, and it's not just a matter of you putting in your CV. Your CV is being selected by a bot. Your CV, your application. So whatever you're wording, whatever you're putting through, is whether you could be getting 1 million applications through and rejections, but actually, you know, it's not face to face anymore. It's quite difficult.
More power to the bots.
Absolutely.
Prashant, your take-home messages?
I think challenges and opportunities are two sides of the same coin. And, you talked about an aging workforce versus a millennium workforce. I think there is an opportunity of massive amounts of collaboration in that, where you have a lot of the experience from the aging workforce versus the enthusiasm and the sheer horsepower or the sheer human power from the younger generation. I think there are huge opportunities as well as major challenges in both these countries, and collaboratively this could be a very big force to reckon with, including a big revival of the Commonwealth as we move forward. Thank you.
Okay. So Don, you see a lot of the intersection between science and technology deepening out there, a lot of stuff coming out, cutting edge of science. You are on the cutting edge of science, so your take-home messages.
Thank you. Well, I've noticed that as the panel has come through, the sentiments have become increasingly philosophical. So I'm a big Bob Dylan fan, and I found that his lines are usually applicable in just about any situation, so I thought I'd pluck out a couple for today. The first one, the obvious one, the times are changing. We know that. The second one is a little bit more oblique, which comes from the same song, don't criticize what you can't understand. Thank you.
That's a real good one. Andrew, if I were to ask you in just one line, if you were to describe the future of you or the future of us going forward, just in one sentence, I know it's a little difficult, but...
Keep collaborations going, keep connectivity increasing, and we can be successful.
Fair enough. Jonathan?
Yeah, I would say it's all about relationships, I think, and as you pointed out earlier, Elizabeth, is we need to connect as people, not through devices.
Okay. Elizabeth?
For me, I think it's sort of don't give up, keep going at it. And I think one stat I noticed was that the average work hours in India is higher than anywhere else in the world. So it's at 13.8 hours a day, and in the UK it's 8 hours. So it's sort of like, and we think we're overworked. So I think that actually hats off to you. And I did note that Europe's actually France and Germany a bit lower than the UK. The UK was the highest one in Europe on that one, but I think we have to still keep going at it. Don't give up.
Those are more than 2 sentences, but since it was delightful statistics, I'm allowing it.
Co-create and conquer.
Oh, that's really lucid. Ron?
You make this too easy for me. So another Bob Dylan line. I can't help it if I'm lucky.
Excellent. Any questions from the audience? My only request to you is no observations, just sharp questions. And if you want to address it to any specific panelist, do let us know.
I've got a question for all the businessmen on the panel and women. What will you take away that you're going to apply to your business when you get back from today or from this trip?
Who wants to take it?
Well, I think the first thing I'd take away is the fact that the size of the opportunity is there, and it's there to be had. And I think if we put the effort in, we'll reap the rewards of it.
Ron? Yeah, so I think the big takeaway for me from a practical standpoint is putting something that works into the local market here in India rather than try and start with some conceptual framework which may never get anywhere.
I was just going to say, I think the power of the Commonwealth, Prashant just mentioned, is really key. I think that we're very lucky that we're part of it together, and I think we need to focus on that further.
Fair enough.
Yeah, mine would probably be to put more time aside to come to events like this, because I think it's been absolutely fantastic for myself and all the businesses that have come over.
Well, that's a message for you. He wants more events like this. Any other question? We have the mic over here. So, okay. Yeah. Be nice if you can identify yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tim from Connecticut Group. I just want to ask I've got thoughts on it myself, but what's everyone's thoughts from the UK government point of view, and what more they could do apart from events to bring people together like this and not only collaborate but link and bring more young people to business and driving entrepreneurship and innovation.
So I'll answer that first. So I'm also a director of the World Chamber of Commerce. So we actually engage with businesses to see what they actually want from the business. So if that's to go to a delegation or to meet, we have a good relationship with Department for International Trade, UKTI and other people. So it's actually what can you put in to actually get out. So if you want anything at all, ask your local Chamber of Commerce, ask your local groups networking.
Jonathan, pick up from there. You've already set the scene with quotes. John F. Kennedy once very famously said, ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
I agree completely.
Okay,
agree, yeah.
So it's really on you as to how you want to take things forward. The platform is there. There are chambers of commerce, the governments on both sides have platforms. It's the initiative which one takes and the effort one puts in. You can only get in what you put into it. Thank you.
So most people actually associate the word CCD with Coffee Cafe Day out here in India, but I would say it's all about connectivity, collaboration and data. So on this note, please give all the panelists a very big hand. Thank you. And I would invite Amo now to take it.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you to my panel. They can genuinely rest now because we have been making very good use of their expertise. So I will try now to very neatly segue. The panel kindly can sit on the front row if they don't mind. And can I ask the High Commissioner Matthew Gould, Mr. Prakash Kumar of SIDBI and Mr. Neeraj Goyal of RBS This is all working very well so far. Your headphones and mics are there. So we're gonna move into, as you probably know, there is a large dome behind you. That has been the focus of a hive of activity for the last 3 hours, and that's been a hackathon, which has now concluded with a problem statement and 3 companies that are going to pitch their answers to our eminent panel. Their pitches will, as pitches inevitably do, run seamlessly on that screen. So we'll have 3 companies. The first company is called HuPay. The second company is called Riscovery. And the third company is called Rupee Power. So, can I have the first company readily mic'd on the stage, please? That's Ricky Jacob of HuPay. Do we have Ricky Jacob around? Here he is. Right. So, Ricky, your slides are going to appear on that screen if you need them, so you might want to be able to look at them. And I'm just going to tell the audience the problem statement. So, India has more than 1 billion cards, mobile phone and unique identity, and a range of others. However, the benefits of financial inclusion are yet to reach the urban and rural last mile. You probably noticed there is a company on the very entrance called Buffalo Grid. They do a huge amount on last mile connectivity, so do visit them before you leave. The problem about last mile connectivity is more pronounced in small business segments that are unorganised due to lack of solutions and that are custom made to segment need. Microfinance as an industry has long supported the unbanked and underbanked. However, now an effort is needed to support the movement of MFI consumers from an average of 25,000 rupees to higher individual credit of 1 lakh plus. So the Speed Hackathon focuses on fintech-led solutions that are built for supporting access to credit to the missing middle. So not to the ultra-poor and not to middle income, but the missing middle. So can I ask... Okay, do you want to start with your pitch?
Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ricky, the co-founder of HuPay. Some of you might not be aware of the existence of something called as the credit cooperative societies in India. The main reason that they exist is to kind of provide banking services to the semi-urban and rural population of India. So they have been in existence for over a couple of decades or more. But the way they provide these services hasn't changed in the last couple of decades. Just to give you some numbers, there are about 90,000 such credit societies in India who directly cater to about 120 million plus people. And annually, they disburse about $19 billion in loans. And the interesting bit here is all of that, probably 90 or more % of that, is actually cash across the counter. So there's absolutely no or very low influence of digital in something like a credit society who cater to a huge population and provide credit to a large number of people in India. So as a customer, you have a lot of paperwork to go through. You have to actually wait, go to a branch to get access to these services. And as a credit society, managing these books in actually pen and book-based ledgers is absolutely difficult in this day and age. That's where we kind of come in. And we are actually providing a digital banking service for credit cooperative societies in India. So on the customer side, we provide them with access to web and mobile platforms where they can access their digital account that is actually linked to a prepaid card that we issue. Here you're looking at loans of 20,000 to 1 lakh rupees. So you don't necessarily need to have a physical bank account. So what we create here is a digital bank account linked to a customer. And from a credit society point of view, we actually give them bank-grade technology, commercial bank-like mobile banking offerings, which they can actually convey and provide to their customers. So, and the benefit of actually entering the customer from this particular segment is to actually acquire these end users directly would be very expensive. And by using the credit society to access the end customer, who can then be able to be provided with various other financial services like microcredit, like microinsurance, advisory, etc. So we actually intend to be the first formal digital footprint of this customer base. So the pitch to these credit societies is you maintain the relationships that you're maintaining at the regional, local level. We bring you the technology to enhance your customer experience and your business. Thank you.
If there are any questions that the jury want to ask, please do feel free. Dominic.
So how do you deal with the credit risk?
So we don't directly work on the credit risk, etc. The credit societies in India, they actually provide high-risk loans to this segment. So we don't necessarily kind of involve ourselves trying to de-risk the society. So they handle all of that. We actually only plug in the digital platform. So if I may, we are kind of a very mellowed down version of Finacle, which kind of powers most of the banks across the world. We actually provide them with a simple cloud-based web dashboard to handle banking services.
I mean, you talked about the customer segment, that you're trying to address. Have you thought about how much of training, or are they really, equipped enough to be using this kind of application?
So that's the reason where we actually work alongside the credit societies. So these are societies who actually have people in the field today to collect the loan amount back. They actually physically go to each of their customers and collect the cash. So we see these credit societies as a medium to kind of get to the end customer, who would in turn educate the customer by providing more literacy around the usage of such digital technologies. From a credit society point of view, a lot of them, we do realize that they want to come up the ladder of potentially becoming a cooperative bank and move up the ladder, and also build some sort of a brand perception with the customer segment at a regional level. So they're actually doing the whole angle of going down and educating the end customer, where we are obviously providing it in a multilingual platform where it's regionalized. So a customer base in, say, Maharashtra would have Marathi, Hindi, English, and other languages as an option.
So is there any underlying bank accounts in this, or it's just the credit society account which is being managed in a digital manner?
Yeah, so in our case, for the first customers that we've rolled out with, we have a partner bank we are working with where virtual accounts get created. So it's close to...
so virtual accounts.
Yeah, it's a virtual account.
So you are digitizing the transactions also, or the transactions will happen in cash only? Because there are two parts to it. One is managing the entire process in an IT kind of a platform. Other is handling of the cash.
Yes.
So the cash handling is also getting digitized here?
So as a first step to kind of enter the segment, we're actually providing the credit society with a digital platform where they can actually set up a virtual account and actually disburse loans onto this card, which we issue. It's a RuPay card that we issue along with the digital account.
It's a prepaid card?
Prepaid card.
Okay.
So up to 1 lakh limit is there, which is typically the segment that we're catering to.
Okay.
Great. And can I ask, so it's clearly a very impressive product, but this being a hackathon, what have you done today?
So we have been working, trying to figure out this particular segment for a bit now, where we're kind of trying to cater to the credit societies in India. We've actually onboarded our first customer in Tamil Nadu, one of the southern states in India. As part of the hackathon, we try to put together some of the other data sets around enhancing the offering from a customer point of view, wherein we partner with other providers of microcredits, the sachet insurances, etc., which can be plugged in. So these are some of the other areas which we do realize is going to add on to these customers and create value for them.
Right, thank you very much. Ricky of UPay, you can now go and take a breath and a round of applause. The next FinTech hacker is from Riskovery. If I've got that right?
Yes, you have.
Good stuff. Your 3 minutes are about to kick off now.
Thank you. This is the first time I'm pitching where I not only have a mouthpiece but an earpiece as well. So this is a little weird, but it's super cool. Thank you so much for the opportunity, everyone. Chirant, founder of Discovery. We are an insurtech company. We are based out of Bombay and Bangalore, and we are trying to reimagine insurance for the new India. So Indian insurance industry, we think, is one of the most interesting insurance industries globally. It is literally 2% of the market, but growing at 5 times the rate. In terms of it is super underpenetrated. In terms of the hackathon use case that was given to us, in the lower than the middle, above the BPL segment, we think that these two insurance products, the home and business insurance, are the two most vital products. They are not only the most prized assets, but they're most vulnerable. So just to put that in context, look at some of the recent flood catastrophes that happened in the recent past in India. Across the states of Kerala, Maharashtra and Uttarakhand, only 6 to 8% of the overall loss was actually insured. The rest wasn't. So you can only do back of the math envelope to figure out, the number of people who got back into poverty, that fell back into the poverty line because of this particular event. What is the problem? So the problem, we think, is literally two-sided one. On the demand side, it's literally a literacy problem. It's a customer who really needs the product but doesn't want it. It is a mistrust in terms of who's being sold what kind of a product. There is mistrust in terms of claims as well. And overall, the acronyms and sort of the overall life cycle of what an insurance product means for a demand-oriented customer, especially in this segment, is the customer experience is lopsided. On the supply side, it's really economics. Most of the insurers really today do not want to cater to this particular segment because on the economics side, on the underwriting side, it does not work out for them. So what's the solution? We think the solution is a 4-pronged solution. It is a combination of the right product with the right distribution channel, with the right kind of technology to enable it, and the right kind of data to personalize the entire customer experience. So what does this mean? Let's take one of these, like the insurance product side, right? On the insurance product side, there are 2 or 3 different products that are super interesting for a lot of people that we have surveyed in this particular demographic. For instance, business volatility. Imagine you're a small town trader in rural Maharashtra and worried about what happens into 2019 elections. If they go south, right? In terms of however it would affect him or her. What if there was an insurance product just to cover business volatility in the run-up to the elections? Would that be cool? Of course. In terms of women's health insurance, it is super underpenetrated, right? So we'd love to see women-focused insurance products as well and bring it to market. We're also, what we're doing, the right-hand side is really a solution. It's a 6-step solution. We are building this as we speak. To answer your question, in the previous, my friend who pitched as well earlier, we essentially put the story together at this hackathon to bring out the overall sort of solution that we are building for what we are calling as Discovery Bharat. It's a 6-step solution. It is about discovering your risks and then going through the motions of actually understanding what those risks are based on the given asset, and then covering that with a unique policy that is especially priced for this particular cohort. We are a fairly diverse team. Very grateful to be working with them. Saurabh and Suvendu bring the inside out of the industry. They built the books of 2 of insurance carriers in India from a distribution perspective, and Vidya and I come from the data and tech side. Thank you.
Very good. You can take a breath now with a round of applause.
Thanks.
Any questions from the jury? Please.
See, you talked about selling insurance. I guess that's the easiest part. I can get my car insurance in 5 minutes online. The real challenge lies when I go and try to get the claim. Right. So, I mean, unless you address this piece, which I didn't hear much, you'll be selling insurance, maybe mis-selling insurance, but ultimately everything can backfire if the person who needs that claim is not settled in a time-bound manner, in a hassle-free manner.
Right.
So, have you thought about this piece?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are two ways to kind of answer that. One is We have a distribution license right now. We don't have a carrier license. There is only so much we can do without taking the risk on our books. So we are kind of bound by our carrier partners in terms of their own modalities of looking at their books in a profitable manner. We are going to answer your question on the selling versus mis-selling part. Hopefully, all we'll do is selling, not mis-selling whatsoever, in whichever way you characterize it. The second part of it is, that there is, we are building a carrier agnostic claims module. So that is going to be launched probably in 4 weeks from now, where we are essentially, all the policies that are bought on our platform, we give them a digital experience of going through the journey of where their claim stands and what is the current state of, requirements in terms of documentation and so on and so forth. So really the answer is to go through a digital experience, not only on the buy side, but also on the manage and the claim side as well. So we think all these things need to come together to bring superior customer experience.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much for that pitch. The next company, just conscious of time, the next company, the final company to pitch is Rupee Power. And Rahul Singh, who works for Rupee Power. Thank you very much.
Hi everybody, Rahul Singh this side from Rupee Power Credit-On, along with my colleague Ankur Bhalla, who's our product head for Rupee Power Credit-On. We are a digital lending platform working out of Gurgaon, working with some 17 of the largest lenders within India right now. We work with the likes of State Bank of India, Kotak Mahindra Bank, RBL, across SME lending and retail lending products. Some of the new addition to our portfolio are the small finance banks like Ujjivan and AU. Today, we were given a problem statement that how will we enable financial inclusion and access to credit to unbanked and new to bank customers. So essentially, I will just give you a brief overview of what process we're going to follow, and Ankur will follow with details. So essentially what we're saying is that the new to bank, unbanked customers need instant credit, and we're going to enable the customer acquisition, decisioning and disbursal of the money within half an hour at the point of acquisition. So how the process will follow is that it's going to be a sales-driven model wherein a sales guy will go to the remote areas like a tier 3 or a tier 4 city, wherein possibly there will be internet, there won't be internet, with a sales app which will work in online and offline models both. So basically, he will acquire the KYC of the customers by, let's say, parsing the documents which could be local or national in nature. These documents could be as good as, let's say, a ration card, Aadhaar card, which is widely available, a voter ID card, or even, let's say, something like a local identification for that particular district or village. We will build parsers for both, and then we will come on to the stage of, let's say, how we impute or, let's say, assess their financial incomes, which could be basis, let's say, their existing bank account, but possibly they might not even hold bank's account. So in that case, we will impute income basis, let's say, their financial statements, which could be in random format. So the beauty of our solution would be that we will be able to parse through, let's say, information through non-standardized documents, which is, I think, never been done with almost, let's say, 80% to 85% accuracy. And then post that, we will assess several other variables like what's his electricity bill, or let's say what's his LPG bills, or several other.
1 minute left of your pitch.
Yeah, and then post which we will compute and impute all these variables and arrive at a final credit score, which will flow through our business rule engine, which is proprietary to us, and we will arrive at a scorecard wherein we could say that it's a green, amber, or red. If it's an amber case, we could go to a refer stage wherein a local referral could be given, and basis that the further information could be processed. And if it's a green case, the disbursal happens then and there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So Rahul of Rupee Pay. Round of applause, please. And you can now take a breath. Right. A single question, please, from the panel or from the audience. Matthew, I see your eye. Nope. I had a question then. I've spent a lot of time in pitching sessions. What is your revenue model?
So our revenue model is very, very simple. We work with banks wherein we work on both CapEx and OpEx models. We prefer the OPEX model, wherein we start very nimble, we start with a very small implementation fee, and then we work on an OPEX model wherein we charge a very small amount of the disbursed money. So wherein we partner with them in their success. So we own the risk along with all the banks and NBFCs we're working with.
Very good. One more question.
Small doubt. So you already have this model built in because you're talking about using proprietary information like electricity bills, some sales vouchers, invoices to actually make an assessment of the cash flow.
Yes.
That's the most difficult part.
Yes.
So have you already built something or is it just an idea at this point of time?
No, the product is partially there. So when I'm talking about, let's say, parsing of the documents, so we parse several documents at this stage, both in KYC category and income category. It's just that we are yet to reach to the local KYC or, let's say, income documents. When we're talking about, let's
KYC
say...
is simple. KYC is relatively simple. Everybody has a solution. But the income documents is the main challenge.
Yes, yes. So this is where I think we are 40 to 50% there. We are yet to achieve, let's say, 85 to 90% accuracy. So this is we are working towards. We are piloting in several regions of South India and North India right now.
Very good. Right, so those have been 3 pitches. A round of applause for our final pitcher, Rahul. So we're going to just replay, although there is now a new audience, the highlights video of the day. In the meantime, the eminent jury is going to decide who gets first, second and third place.
People I've talked to, from multinational companies to small tech startups to government leaders to civil society. This is just a fantastic opportunity.
Hi, I'm Priya Guha, the Ecosystem General Manager for Rocket Space in the UK. It's fantastic to be here at the India UK Futuretech Festival. It's a great opportunity to see the best of UK tech, the best of Indian tech, and the importance this sector will hold for the future of the relationship.
Hi everyone, I'm Lyric from Logically. So we kind of specialise in using human and artificial intelligence to detect misinformation, disinformation and content likely to incite violence. So obviously very topical and very relevant to India at this moment in time.
We have an extraordinarily strong tech ecosystem in the UK, building on a depth of talent and expertise which is world-class. And we want that ecosystem to be globally facing, and we want to build, as part of that, the strongest possible partnership with India.
So the world is changing. That requires new collaborations, and technology will be at the heart of those new collaborations. That's why our 2 Prime Ministers in April announced the Tech Partnership. And we're taking that forward at great speed. We've already established those connections between those clusters of technology in the UK and counterparts here in AI and healthcare, and just starting now on a new area of advanced manufacturing. This is a really dynamic collection of people today at the Futuretech Fest, the latest in our installment of taking forward the tech partnership. We have brought together hundreds of scientists, innovators, businessmen, businesswomen and policy experts to talk about the thought leadership that required to maximize the potential in technology and collaboration between the UK and India.
Great. So we have a result very quickly. 3 members of our jury were tied on the winner. 1 member of our jury had the same scores for all 3, so we discounted that despite their expertise, that particular set of options. And so, can I just tell you what the prize is? National Payments Commission of India have been very kind to us and to our hackers. The first prize is 75,000 rupees from them. and a place in an Indian delegation of Fintech Mentorship Program. The second winner gets 50,000 rupees, and the third winner, and they are indeed all winners, will get 25,000 rupees. So, our winner, to be presented by the jury, led by Matthew, please, is Rupee Power. So, Rahul Singh of Rupee Power. Very good. Very good. It wouldn't be complete without a cheesy debit card. Very good. Well done. Rupee Power. Excellent. The second place, again, unanimous from our esteemed jury, was Riscovery. So Riscovery. Well done. And you might want to stay there, Matthew, because the third place is Hupay. So Ricky from Hupay, well done. Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you all for listening through that. So we're at the end of a very tightly packed day. All that remains is for the High Commissioner to say some closing words. So can I invite Sir Dominic Asquith up to the stage to make those remarks? Or indeed, he can stay sitting still.
Since this is a very relaxed festival, I will stay sitting, if that's all right. Well done, hackers. Many congratulations. I love those high-speed pitches. I've done three tech rocket ships since I've been here. And we had the finale, indeed, last night of the most recent one in my garden. And what's good, what I really like, it's to do with real tech, dealing with solutions, looking at solutions to real problems. So it's always very refreshing in any conference and in any context where there are a lot of people where you're doing that sort of stuff rather than just talking. Fintech sector for us, really important, £7 billion worth it was worth in terms of revenues. The Indian fintech sector, hugely bright future as well, and I'm really looking forward to us being partners and collaborators on that one, natural collaborators in my view. We've got 10 of the best fintech people in town at the moment. They've been in India for the past week. They are going down to Mumbai to do a pitch tomorrow. Rupee Power will join them for that pitching, so join the very best of the young fintechers, and it's delightful that they're here now and we can talk about it. Very last, 5 last thoughts for the evening before you head in that direction and refresh yourselves with a well-earned drink. Collaboration. The whole day has been marked by collaboration between different types of people, and that's what the tech sector requires. It's had government, it's had business, and it's had the entrepreneurs, the scientists, the innovators, all those who are producing the ideas. That combination is really powerful and really essential. Secondly, our Information Commissioner at the beginning talked about data, and data, I think there's been a theme of data being the oil of the fourth industrial revolution. She described it as the asset of the fourth industrial revolution. There's a whole bunch of downstream stuff, to complete the analogy, to do with data, privacy, data protection, and again, as Elizabeth Denham said, it's a pivotal time for data protection, and we've got to get it right. and we're not just ones and zeros. Data is people. So that's the second reflection for me. Third, something Amitabh said, which I pitched in just before him, but it came out of a conversation we had before we went into that first session, which is the role of MSMEs in all this, really important. That's what, amongst other things, when we get the tech hub up and running, we will be servicing, but that's what we're also looking at in the tech clusters. Which takes me to the fourth, the forward look. Very good to talk about, sort of analyze stuff, but having a route map ahead of us, what we're going to be doing is really important. Developing the clusters, developing the tech hub, developing the advanced manufacturing process and center of excellence. Fintech, as we've had today, those are just four obvious markers or routes that we'll be going down and developing. There'll be lots more. If you've got ideas, come and tell us. And fifth, I've got a great team. Personally, I want to thank them all for putting together a stunning day in remarkable short time. Huge. It's a huge operation if you're running all these parallel events that are going on. So I'd like to hear from you all in this silent disco a really strong applause and congratulations. And as well as thanking the team, I mean, it really is a phenomenal effort. It's taken in the whole network. It's not just Delhi. We are represented from our biggest network in the world. They're all here. They've all contributed and brought in people from around India. And to those who have come from the UK, fantastic you're here. Jonathan Quinn, thanks for that really good comment in an earlier session. He said he wants to... what he took away from here is make more time to come to these sort of events. That's what we love to hear, and I hope it does happen. I want to thank Imperial for lending us their garden and their ballroom, and for keeping the rain away. It was fantastic, really nice setting, really good to be out in the fresh air, I suppose I say, but anyway, out in the air rather than inside, and to Tata and the other sponsors who have allowed us to put this on, a big, big thanks. So to all of you, great that you came here. You've all contributed. Been really interesting hearing you. There is something behind you which you should reward yourself with in whatever way, with whatever strength that you like. Thank you for being here and look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.